Hello friends, welcome back to another episode of Reddit ProRevenge. In this episode, I've got 3 stories for you. The first is how a babysitter got back at a parent for yelling at them and their mom. The second story is how someone deals with a roommate who hits the snooze button 12 times every morning, disrupting their sleep. And the last story is how an army sergeant gets sweet revenge on someone who slashes his tires. I hope you stay for all the stories today, and subscribe for future videos. This story's titled, Teenage Babysitting Revenge. When I was in my teens, I had a paper route, I mowed lawns, that sort of thing for extra money. I also babysat. One of my paper route customers wanted a babysitter for Saturday night, and I took the gig. They wanted me there for 7 p.m., and I was 10 minutes early. The wife kept an immaculate home, everything in its place, and very tidy. When I arrived, she gave me the rundown, including pointing out how she had graciously provided me a snack, 2 whole Oreo cookies and a glass of juice on the counter. I had skipped dinner, and soon after they left, I explored the pantry, found the bag of Oreos, and helped myself to 2 more. Now this pantry was the size of a large walk-in closet and was stuffed. There were lots of canned goods, all facing forward with the labels in perfect alignment. There were cereal boxes set up on the shelves in descending sizes. I don't know if she was a 1970s version of a doomsday prepper, but there was a ton of stockpiled food in there. All went well until they returned. The wife said that she was paying me from 8 p.m., even though I arrived before 7 because they were late leaving. She also made a point of repeating that hubby was giving me a ride home for free. Bitch, it's after midnight and I'm 15, did you expect me to walk home? Whatever. Then, the storm hit. The next day, she shows up at our house, freaking out on my mom, calling her a lousy parent, and me, a thief. Why? Because I ate 2 fucking Oreos. That's right, she counted the Oreos and found 2 missing. The argument was short. My mom told her to fuck off, and she roared away down the street. Fast forward a month or 2, and I'm delivering the Saturday paper in the early afternoon, and hubby asks if I'm available to babysit that evening. Apparently, the sitter that they had arranged backed out at the last minute. Against my better judgment, I accepted because I could use the cash. The wife made a point of mentioning that she did not want a repeat of last time, and made me agree to not eat anything except for what she had laid out for me. Fine. I didn't know at the time, but it's clear that the wife suffered from OCD. If I had known, I probably wouldn't have done what I did. I have a little more knowledge about psychological conditions now, but at the time, all I knew was this woman was a bitch who had yelled at me and my mom. So as soon as they left, I got to work. I removed every label from every can in the pantry. She had them all set up by categories. Soups on one shelf, canned fruit on another, canned vegetables on a different shelf. I scattered them. I also shuffled the boxes around. I fucked up that pantry any way I could. I pulled the tray of Chips Ahoy cookies out and put them in the Oreos bag. Then, pulled the Oreos out and put them in the Chips Ahoy bag. I pulled out the bag from the Rice Krispies box and swapped it with the cornflakes. You get the idea. Then, I left a note on the floor that said, "Don't ever call me again." They paid me when they got home, and I said I would walk home. I then took the money they gave me and left it in their mailbox on the way out. The next morning, I gave my parents a heads up of what I'd done, just in case the psycho wife showed up again. They were disappointed, but quite amused. She never showed up. I continued the paper route for some time, but within a few days, I'd received a notice that they had cancelled their delivery of the newspaper. Fine with me. Over the next few months, I would see them now and again, and would simply look at them and smile. They would scramble back into the house, avoiding me. There were also some kids on my route that had some experience with this woman, and apparently, she had treated others badly as well. That was the reason that she couldn't find a sitter. Word had gotten around to avoid her. When I told a few people, they all thought it was brilliant and wished they had thought of it. This story's titled, You Say You're Not Hitting Snooze All Morning and Ruining My Sleep. I had a good friend staying on my couch years ago. I slept in the loft, so every morning I could hear his alarm go off, much earlier than I would normally wake up. I didn't mind because he needed to get up early for work, but annoyingly, every day he would, without exaggeration, hit snooze 8 or more times, so I would be woken up again and again throughout the hour while he tried to get his shit together. It would take him at least 45 seconds each time the alarm went off to notice and hit snooze. I would notice it instantly after it went off and lie there awake waiting for him to come and turn it off, knowing that it would go on endlessly. It was ruining my morning sleep. When I confronted him about it, he denied hitting snooze more than once, if at all. He was sleeping so deeply that he honestly didn't remember doing it, and refused to believe what I was telling him or acknowledge how much it was bothering me. I suggested that he just set his alarm for the time he needed to wake up and let us both enjoy sleeping, rather than suffering through the continual alarms. He doubled down on his story that he was basically getting up right with the first alarm. I was counting though, and some days it was 12 times he was hitting snooze. After a couple of weeks of this, while he was at work, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I took his alarm clock apart, found the wiring on the circuit board that connected to the snooze button. At first, I had planned to just disable the snooze button so he would be forced to get up on the first alarm. But with the clock apart, I came up with a better plan. I wired the snooze button to the alarm off switch, so now, instead of resetting the alarm to go off again in 10 minutes, it would just shut off entirely. If he was getting up on the first alarm like he said, it shouldn't be a problem, right? The next morning, I heard my friend's alarm go off, and eventually, he rolled over, grunted, and hit snooze as normal. But then, I got to enjoy a few more hours of sleep until he finally woke up on his own and ran out the door, cursing loudly, late for work. This went on for about a week, him snoozing his alarm once, sleeping in, and being late for work. He sheepishly confided in me that his alarm wasn't working for some reason, and that he was afraid of losing his job. He didn't know what to do, but he didn't trust his alarm anymore. That was supposed to be my moment of glory, but I honestly felt too bad for him at the time to rub his nose in the lack of his awareness of his own obnoxious alarm habits. He had just gone through a bit of a hard time and been a good friend to me through my own difficulties. I told him that he should probably just get a new alarm clock, and shortly thereafter we both moved to a new city. I forgot about it until years later when we were reminiscing, and I told him how I had sabotaged his clock and how it proved that he was a chronic multi-snoozer. I'm still super proud of how it worked out, even if I was the only one who could appreciate it at the time. This story's titled, Don't Fuck with Sgt.Jesse. Sgt.Jesse was a black man, about 5'2", but with a really wiry build. Total dynamo of a guy. Sgt.Jesse came back from Vietnam in E7 and was placed in command of a group of white soldiers who were led by a bunch of E6 good old boys who couldn't handle having a black man give them orders. Jesse didn't care, he just did his job. One day, Sgt.Jesse bought his wife a new Cadillac with white wall tires, and he drove it on his base the first day to get his DOD window sticker. The car was parked in the company's parking lot where all the NCOs parked, and much to his surprise, when he returned, all 4 tires were slashed. The E6s were all curious and asked, "What are you gonna do? It could have been anybody. Are you gonna question the whole company about your wife's tires? By the way, how are you getting home?" Followed by a snicker and a chuckle. But it was understood that they thought he was gonna raise a huge ruckus and become a distraction to command right as he got there, thus diminishing his reputation. Jesse didn't play that shit. He just said, "I'm not gonna look for who did this. He is going to come to me." As first sergeant, Sgt.Jesse could authorize field training exercises and PT at his discretion. He called the company to order and told them that they were going on a field training exercise immediately. They were ordered to grab only their GI-issued gear and be prepared to overnight for several days. Then, he walked them out into the woods for about 10 miles and told them to set up their tents. After, they constructed the more permanent tent with a wooden floor and a portable stove for him. He posted a guard at his door, lit a fire in the stove, and went to sleep. Did I mention it was December? Everyone else was sleeping on the ground in pup tents with no heat. So, the exercises began. Jesse ran them like rented mules for 2 days through the woods. Long morning and evening runs, push-ups, pull-ups, lunges, digging latrine trenches in frozen ground. You know, team building, camaraderie, inspiring torturous bullshit. After 2 days, one of the E6s showed up with 2 black eyes, looking like 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag, as Jesse would say. Apparently, overnight, the company pulled a code red on one guy's ass and beat on him until he agreed to confess, because they were damn tired of living in the woods in the winter. Jesse docked the man's pay and made him replace the tires, but didn't file charges against him because he thought he had paid dearly enough. And, more importantly, Jesse had made his point for everybody else on the base to see that you shouldn't fuck with Sgt.Jesse. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed these stories today. If you want to submit your own stories, my Discord server is in the link below. Also, if you aren't subscribed, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss future stories. See you guys in the next one.